Good afternoon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. We are talking about money in the United Kingdom being given to people who need it in the United Kingdom. And for those who are outside the United Kingdom, the money may not be relevant to someone like yourself. But what happens in the United Kingdom in terms of policy and practice is more likely to happen elsewhere around the world. So if you come across this information, pay attention to it because it might also be of interest to you. And also, you might actually do a study of what happened in the United Kingdom systematically or even in practical terms to try and talk to your member of parliament or your leader to put pressure on your government to provide similar support for people in your country, especially if you live in Africa, because this help in the United Kingdom is quite similar to help given in countries similar to United Kingdom in the developed world. It is called welfare system, welfare based on welfare policy, which is part of the public sector. I have actually mentioned this information in this video, but also in the other videos. If you watch the rest of the video. Also, thank you so much, everyone who have been supporting this channel, watching the videos, sharing with family and friends, and also clicking notification bell, clicking like, and leaving comments. Comments are so important. Feedback is really extremely valuable, and I appreciate this. We are looking at universal credit, which in the UK is the main area of financial support given by the government. And we looked at several elements of it. We are continuing with the process, and we are looking at people who are sick. If you are sick long term, if you are sick for 14 days, the government will count at this as being a long-term illness. Then you won't need to work if you can show you have limited capability for work. The thing about limited capability to work, I've discussed it. Go to gov.uk in the United Kingdom, or if you are outside the United Kingdom, because this is a website, and also go to visit the public website of Citizen Advice in the United Kingdom. You can access this website from anywhere in the world, and for information, for guidance, or even for doing research. And this information is vital because, in my opinion, especially if you are in Africa, I think it is so important that the world should look to Africa to help Africa, because if there is to be welfare support in a modern world where there is wealth, there is technology, the progress has been made along development, and in Africa people are still living in the type of poverty which can only be imagined existing in the ancient of days. But we are in a modern society, so therefore, those who are financing Africa economically should think again about how Africa is being treated. Africa should be supported by welfare, and we are global countries, we are global world, and it doesn't make sense a single person being poor in one country, including in the continent of Africa, within the countries in Africa, especially coming back to the developed world in the United Kingdom being the sixth richest country. I have said consistently that the primary objective of this program, but also any government policy, should have its own objective, its key objective, to get the British people and the people of the world in another country out of poverty. And every government providing welfare or any other support, whether finance, whether whatever you call it, should get the people of such a country out of poverty, and Britain is included. I have been consistently saying this, and thank you so much, everyone who have been with me, working with me, and supporting this channel. And then we are going back to look at the specific. From time to time, I will pause to give a commentary on the primacy of information as it looks. You might need to fill in a questionnaire about your health and go to a medical assessment. These are specific information on the government website and on the organizations such as Citizen Advice and others. This can take a while. So as your work coach, to suspend your work-related activities in the meantime. Sometimes people are required to do work-related activity, such as I have mentioned in the process. So you can ask to change your claim and commitment. If else problem mean you can't do all your work activities, it's worth doing even for a small change. For example, if regular doctor's appointments mean you have 2 hours fewer a week to look for work. Since we're talking about work-related activity, which is a condition of claiming benefit, it is part of claimant's commitment, which I have commented to be removed at a policy level for a government who are intent on effectively helping the British people get out of poverty, because the objective of benefit in objective employment in the first instance should have its aim to get the British people out of poverty, and this policy should be replicated globally anywhere in the world. In a modern society like today, this message is clear. If the political will is available in any country, in any continent of the world, with the policy involving welfare system, every citizen, every single individual can get out of poverty within a day. And this, if you are in the United Kingdom or out of the United Kingdom, please do well to contact your leader and engage with your leader, to engage with Parliament, to engage with the UK government, with your government in your country, to get your people out of poverty today, not tomorrow. That is the essence of democracy. That is actually a roadmap to peace. And thank you so much, everyone who have been with me doing this program. If you're self-employed and temporarily sick, and if you are too sick to work, and it affects your ability to make a profit, call the Department of Work and Pension and ask them to treat you as not being in gainful self-employment while you are ill. And this is also to do with sickness and claiming universal credit, which is money given to people who need help in the United Kingdom. If you are not in gainful self-employment, your universal credit payment should be higher. This is because the Department of Work and Pension can apply the minimum income floor. I have discussed the minimum income floor in the other video. This information is slightly technical, and it is worth your while to pay close attention. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think about the content of this material. So this is what the Department of Work and Pension expect you to earn each month, and they use it to work out your payment. So find out more about the minimum income floor and how it affects your payment. So we discussed the minimum income floor, which relate to people who are self-employed in the context of small and medium business, as opposed to investors or entrepreneurs who are normally associated with big corporations, multimillionaires and multi-billionaires. That's why we talk about self-employed in connection with the financial support given to people who need help, because these are actually people who are poor, whether they work, whether they are out of work, whether they are employed or self-employed. So benefit is closely associated with employment because both actually deal with the issue of income. And going back to the specifics here, if someone you are close to dies, you will need to tell the Department of Work and Pension about the death of your partner, your child, if you are claiming universal credit because you are under 18 and responsible for a child, someone you were caring for, even if they have died, report this to the Department of Work and Pension. If anyone over 18 living with you have died, also you do the same. You can use the Tell Us Once service on gov.uk. I have mentioned gov.uk is the key website for this type of information because it is government based to actually inform people. You are supposed to be empowered in Britain, and wherever else you are using the internet is a sign of your empowerment, and it is so important people take their lives seriously. The culture of dependency of on the government by citizens of the world is something which is coming to the end and the direction of travel in one country or another globally is why the government now easing out its grip on the people of the world, and they are giving freedom to every citizen of the world. That comes with responsibility, and you are right, to freedom and citizenship come with responsibility. Therefore, take an opportunity to use online material to empower yourself so that you are informed. A lot of people are so reluctant to pay attention to materials such as these because they still think if they finish university as young people or as children leaving school, perhaps becoming young people, they will have a ready-made job from the government waiting for them. Especially in Africa, this is changing because of technology. And when industry began in the world, especially in the developed world, when education also developed, healthcare system, the housing system, the welfare system was actually developed to support people who are being prepared to serve the industry. So the key purpose of the state helping its citizens was to support them so that they become workforces, also including military and civil working to serve the interests of the state and also the people who invest in the economy, the super rich. Now technology is coming to replace human labor. Government is letting you go. Now you have to fend for yourself. You are on your own. And if the government helps you today, it is because it's trying to manage this national security in the interest of the ruling class. This is the politics of violence which has been happening since Adam of society, when society began. And we need to understand the way the government operates. They are not our friends. We are not their friends. In other words, citizens are the enemy of the state, and the state is also the enemy of the people. That is rooted in the history of society. When it was created, it wasn't created peacefully; it was created violently. And the way it was created was the state was created to protect wealth, and also the people who own wealth, who had wealth through one way or another. Sometimes these wealth were actually gotten through robbery. Sometimes it was through industrialization which took place, and also probably the building of the economy through slavery. It was never peaceful. Modern society was never built through peace, and it will actually collapse under violence, because what goes around comes around. And this is something we need to know as a reality. If politicians talk about peace and there is wickedness, this wickedness began in the past. We have fought tooth and nail to bring peace in vain. And the world cannot be peaceful until there is peace introduced in terms of relationship between the state and the citizen. And there is no sign this is happening, because if in modern society of wealth, where wealth is everywhere, you find the majority of population are still languishing in poverty, and there's a group of people referred to as the middle class, and these people are so deluded because they think they are rich, but they are not rich. If you work for a living, you are not rich. You can only be rich if you are multimillionaires and multimillionaires who don't necessarily need to work. And these multimillionaires and multimillionaires, in rough estimate, are forming only 10% of the population globally, including in Africa. Capitalism is the name of the game, and it concentrates wealth in the hands of the few, taking this wealth away from the hands of the many. I've said this thing over and over and over again, and I'm happy I did. I'm happy you came. I'm happy you are watching this material, going back to this particular material in its specificity. Someone you are caring for could be very sick, or anyone over 18 living with you could be sick. You can use the Tell Us One service on gov.uk to tell government departments about deaths quickly and easily. And if people die, is a change of circumstance in terms of the financial support known as universal credit, known as benefit in the United Kingdom, and check the similarity with your country. If you are in the developed world, if you are in a developing world, talk to your government through any means so that they start providing welfare to Africans, because you see, Africa deserves help from the state more than anybody else, and the reality on the ground is Africans are on their own, and the cost of living Africa is insane, and you find one box of fruit is being sold at £2 one box of, of one little packet. I think it is about maybe maybe less than a kilo, less than a quarter of a kilo, probably even maybe half a kilo. Not even a kilo. It's less than a quarter of a kilo. It's just a small packet like that. Maybe a few grams, a few grams of grapes in some African countries, because probably they are imported anyway. And meat, the price of meat is even now measured in terms of US dollar, and they are more expensive than in the developed world. What will the people of Africa eat? Africa as a continent is not supposed to be buying food, because every citizen of Africa should be owning land, they should be growing their own food, they should be accessing technology, farm technology, agricultural technology. You see, agriculture is to feed the nation before the excess food is being sold to other nations. It's not about business. Food is not about business. Food is about welfare. Food is about ethics. Food is about morality. And people should not go without food, because somebody is trying to sell their food, and they are selling their food all right, because you see, the system is rigged toward marketization of everything. You sell everything, and you see, if developed world and also developing world wants to help its citizens, they should encourage them to access land, to grow their own food, to build their own houses. Even in the United Kingdom, you're better off growing your own food, learning, getting the right equipment, getting the right tool, spending time in your garden instead of spending time at the gym. You are fit, you are healthy. I mean, if you are, I would say, if you're sick, you start going to do some small gardening, growing your own food, smelling fresh air and fresh crop, you're probably going to be sick. Your sickness is probably going to go away. That is not a medical suggestion. It's not a medical advice or suggesting that you shouldn't take medication. It's just my imagination. But because I grew up on the land in Africa, and I knew how good it was. It doesn't mean it is easy to grow food, especially if you are using basic implement of agriculture. But in the modern world with technology, I'm talking about technology. When I say families can now start growing their own food, if the government is willing to invest in technology and also allocating land, especially in Britain, training people to now grow their own vegetables, fruits, and building their own home. And we are thinking now about 3D printer around the world. 3D printer, I watched a program in China. A 3D printer is building houses autonomously. They are part of the artificial intelligence. They are quite versatile. That is the future of building, the future of construction. Even houses, even cars, even whatever equipment is needing for building, and with nanotechnology to produce the needed material, that versatile material to do. Technology is the name of the game, and that is why now industries are letting human forces, workforces who are human, including the military, the police, teachers, doctors are being they are not being asked to leave work, because when the machine is now doing the work. And this is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because if the government doesn't prepare society for transitioning peacefully, then it's going to be a mayhem. Probably 80 to 90% of the population, the global population, are going to go extinct. We need to pay attention to changes in technology and in employment, in the support in the developed world, which is welfare, because they are changing, they are closing down. And keep repeating this, and let us go back to these specifics. And you can tell the parallel person that your family has died, and then so that their benefit can be stopped, because somebody is already dead, they shouldn't be paid benefit. That's the whole point. That's why this information is being provided. So changing of circumstances. We're talking about, let us say, if payment changes, a partner dying will change your claim from joint to single. That's what I was talking about. Reducing your standard element. So you get paid less. You should not get money for a dead person, because that is not allowed. So a child dying can reduce your child's element, because child element are also paid. So if your child dies, your child should not be getting benefit. So you should report the changes so that you don't continue getting benefit for a dead child. So these changes don't happen straight away. The Department of Work and Pension will continue to calculate the payments as if the person hadn't died for the rest of the assessment period. When they died, the next 2 assessment periods. After that, the Department of Work and Pension will recalculate your payment either as a single claim or with the new number of children. And continue watching. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for your support. We are looking at changes to your immigration status. You can only keep getting universal credit if your immigration status lets you claim public funds. There is a situation where you might or might not have recourse to public funds. Leave a comment below if you are an immigrant and you are in a situation of no recourse to public funds. You might be facing extreme hardship. This policy should be removed as a responsible government, because treating immigrants as if they are non-human is a sense of offense. And if government is an evil government to immigrants, it means it is only a matter of time such a government is going to be evil to its own citizens. And evil is a roadmap to destruction, no peace for the wicked. Wickedness by the British government or any government in the world is a roadmap to destruction. It is the mother of all destruction, and it should stop. Only people who understand peace and are willing to work for peace should be in government. The rest should be fired, one way or the other. And in the situations, you must still also still have a right to decide. And a right to reside means you are allowed to stay in the United Kingdom. You can claim public funds if you have any of the following: British or Irish citizenship, settled status from the EU settlement scheme, indefinite leave unless you came to the UK on an adult dependent relative visa. An adult dependent visa, a relative visa, means such a relative whom you are visiting is supposed to look after you, not the state. This policy should also change, because this is immoral. Britain is a rich country. The world is enough. People coming to your country should be looked after once already they are in. So this is a wickedness which the British government is practicing on foreigners. And the excuse for this wickedness is because the government, because of political and ideological reason, have decided to close down the public sector. Is an excuse. And if they abuse foreigners, immigrants in the country, it means as a matter of time, they are going to abuse British citizens, and they are already abusing British citizens because of political insanity in the country. And this is actually a global problem. If you think it is a British problem alone, then you think again, because what happened in the UK is going to be happening in your country. It's a matter of catastrophe. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Continue watching. Refugee status or humanitarian protection is another what do you call immigration status, which affect whether or not you get money from the UK government. The right of abode, and the right of abode, it means you are actually allowed to stay in the United Kingdom. Adult dependent relative visa. Let us look at if you are adult dependent relative visa. Adult dependent is, for example, a sick person, somebody, an adult who is dependent, who is not a non-dependent, who is a relative and who have been given a visa. So you might have indefinite leave to remain, even though someone signed a maintenance undertaking for them. Indefinite leave, if you are upgraded in terms of immigration, then you can get a recourse to public fund, which means you are allowed to get access public funding for your livelihood. And the rest of the case, if you are no recourse to public fund, perhaps you are given leave to remain. And as an immigration status, you might not be able to get recourse to public fund, excluding you from accessing public fund thereat, which means the person who brought you in the United Kingdom is the one responsible for your welfare. This is a policy created recently by the UK government. The UK government, who is drunk on steroid, giving excuses, brutalizing immigrants coming to the UK, is a message that immigrants are not welcome, but they are wrong. They are not really honest, because if you are multi-millionaires and the multi-billionaires, the British government will bow down to welcome you into the United Kingdom. You can even get an indefinite visa to visit Britain as much as you can. And the abuse is actually, if you are a poor person coming into the United Kingdom, if they can abuse poor people from abroad and worship wealthy people from abroad, it also follows that they are going to do the same to citizens. Citizens who are rich are more citizens than citizens who are poor, and the poor are in the majoritarian situation, and in such a way that more and more people are going to start suffering, because more and more people are benefiting from employment, which is the primary source of income in the United Kingdom. But technology is taking away jobs, and a lot of middle class, or at least upper income earners in the United Kingdom, are going to be so shocked when they lose their jobs, and when their children graduate from education homeless and jobless, and perhaps also lifeless, unable to access any service, because if the government closes down everything, which is going to close, not caring, because society was never created to care for anyone. It was created through wars and violence, and a lot of evil has been happening in society. And society, we think society was a clean place. It was created with a plan, with a vision for peace and for settlement. Never. It wasn't created like that. It was created accidentally, because some people were having a lot of wealth, and they needed cities and towns to store their wealth. They also needed security to protect them and their wealth. So they created the state and the government and the military system, and later on the civil equivalents in the police, prison. Prison are to lock up thieves and murderers, people who threaten the life of the super rich. People with power were actually, some of them are extrajudicially murdered. Some of them are actually taken into kangaroo courts and murdered through the legal system. The law, it was actually a very violent instrument. It still is, and that is why today even most rich people are above the law, because the system barely changed. The law is set for the poor, for the who are formerly slaves, who now are given a cover of citizenship, but internally the ruling class remain treating these workers as slaves, and their purposes were actually for work to work and get paid enough to keep them alive, and also the health system was to keep them healthy as a tool for working to develop wealth. That is how capitalism was created decades ago. And if you want to look for evidence, you can find it anywhere. And that's why the ruling class are now in a rush to try and, I don't know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to, to conclude their agenda as quickly as possible. But their agenda is evil. I'm not saying everybody, a ruling class or a rich person, is evil, but there are a breed of people in Britain and across the globe, a coalition of evil agents who, since ancestry, for generation, they are promoted evil in the world, including in Africa. Don't get me wrong, I'm an African. I know they are a coalition of the ruling elite who actually have created an evil enterprise across the globe to rule by ruling by attrition, if you like, and the injustice is perfectly expressed by capitalism, which is been concentrating well. It's not an accident that wealth are concentrated in the hands of the few, taken from the hand of the many. It's by design. It is an inheritance. It is an estate. It is a cultural estate of evil which has been happening, and people who are in power, people who are out of power, are now swimming in evil everywhere you look. And people may be nice because we are human, but there is evil now taking over the world, which we should resist. Because if we don't resist, if we fail to resist as a species, if you are poor, if you are rich, we are going to go extinct. You have seen wars, you have seen treacheries. The beauty being skin deep. We have built edifices, we have created estates full of wealth, glittering cities. These are skin deep. Underneath is rottenness, evidenced by there being millions, even billions of people, global population living languishing in poverty, and worst of all, because of brainwash, because of confusion, they don't even know they are poor. And this is the danger, because poverty is maybe not the worst thing to happen to a human being, but what poverty represents is what is most dangerous. It represents evil, because how else, even speculatively, how else, even suspiciously, how else would you explain poverty in the modern world where wealth is everywhere? However you see, wealth is everywhere. Now people living in houses are being evicted onto the street, and houses are being left empty. If that is not wickedness, what is it? Wow, how can you ask somebody who is poor, somebody who is homeless, to evacuate your home, and the home remains empty? People are pushed into the street, whether they die or not. Nobody cares. Landlords do not care about our tenants at all. The only thing they care about is their rent. If you are renting, the government do not care about the British people. Only thing they care is being in power. If they did, they would build houses. They would build social houses for the British people. Everybody would. Now they are misleading the British people to teach them, even abuse them by brainwashing them, to make them believe that the government cannot help everybody. If you ask most people on the street, they think they know so much, they will answer something like, oh, the government cannot help everybody. So who is going to help you if the government doesn't help you? You think you are so special because you're British, because you are maybe someone from Africa, maybe you live in Africa, you think you are a great person, that the government is ruling over you in Africa, in Europe, in Asia, in America. They are ruling over you. They have taken your land. They have taken every money you have. They control it and they give it to the few, taking this wealth away from the many, either knowingly or unknowingly, because the offense is systemic. It's systemic, and if we don't open our eyes, if you are in power, if you're out of power, if you are a ruling class, if you are a working class, if we don't open our eyes as human species, we are going to go extinct. This has been my message, and we need to understand this. Because you see, if you see this kind of thing happening and you keep quiet, let us look at something called an adult dependent relative. This is immigration. When you hear about visa, you talk about immigration. People who are foreign, who are coming to the UK. But the reason I'm talking, because these are not normal people being mistreated in Britain. They are poor. Some of them are dying at sea, and the British people and the people of the world are watching quietly. Human life is being destroyed at sea. They are branded as illegal immigrants. Somehow they deserve to die at sea, and those people should not have died. And we don't even know who is bringing these people to the UK. And the resources of the Europeans and the people around the world would have been enough to prevent these people getting into sea. And we get this on the news, and we use the deaths of immigrants to boost our political fortunes if we are actually right-wing politicians in the United Kingdom, because we have weaponized immigration policy. We have actually confused our citizens to think the problem in a country like Britain, or actually across the globe, if you are in Africa, we teach leaders, the governments of the world, and people who are evil are teaching their citizens to hate foreigners, even in Africa, even in Asia, in America, in Europe. We are doing this. We are playing political football by destroying human life, and we think that is okay. That is not okay. And if you see problems happening, adult dependent relative, let us look at this material. Their visas, and you might have an indefinite leave to remain, even though someone signed a maintenance undertaking for them. So maintenance undertaking, whatever that is, that means upkeep. Somebody is actually looking after you. But leave to remain, indefinite leave to remain, will change in such a way that it will qualify someone who is from abroad to access public funding. This usually only affects people who came to UK as an adult dependent relative visa. In this situation, you can't apply for universal credit until 5 years after you arrived in the UK. So the deadline is 5 years. In the 5 years, you are in a situation or to I don't know, somebody having indefinite leave to remain. I don't think that is accurate information, because you have to have leave to remain, which is a temporary admission in the United Kingdom. Perhaps this is a specific information regarding to relating to adult dependent relative visa, which is a type of immigration status. In this situation, you can't apply for universal credit until 5 years after they arrived in the United Kingdom, and or earlier if the person who signed the maintenance undertaking dies. So it's the signing of the maintenance undertaking is the key in this circumstance, and if they die, then the obligation is actually ended. So you have a pre-settled status from the EU settlement scheme. You can claim public funds, but you also need to show you have a right to reside to get universal credit. The right to reside means residency. You are actually given the right to be in the United Kingdom, to live here. So check if you have a right to reside on this website, gov.uk, or some of the other I have mentioned. Watch this video and the rest of the other videos if you have applied to the EU settlement scheme and you are waiting for a decision. You can claim public funds, but you also need to show you have a right to reside to get universal credit. So a right to reside, to reside means you are allowed to live as a resident. If you are from EU, the EU component of the policy is slightly different from the rest of the world. Check if you have a right to reside in the United Kingdom. If you have any other immigration status, check if your immigration status lets you claim public funds. Normally, in practice, it doesn't, because there you get no recourse to public fund anyway if you are leave to remain, unless you are becoming after 5 years indefinite leave to remain. So let us continue to look at this material. If you start or stop being a carer, you should tell the Department of Work and Pensions. We are talking about change of circumstances. You should tell the Department of Work and Pensions as soon as you can. If you have become a carer, you could get extra money if you look after a severely disabled person for at least 35 hours a week. Check if you can get extra money because you are a carer. You will need to check section 2, work out what other amounts you can get. So you can do this kind of thing because it is conceptualized on the idea of empowerment. So you need to be empowered and some people can support you, or you support yourself. If you have stopped caring for someone, you will stop getting the extra money. The extra money you get normally is caring, is for caring other for other people. And then if it changes, the money also changes. You get less money because of the care component of money being withdrawn. If the person you are caring for dies, you will need to tell the part of work and pension. You can tell government departments about death using the Tell Us Once service on gov.uk. Continue watching, stay tuned. Thank you so much. If you find new jobs or pay increase on universal credit, if you find new jobs and pay increases on universal credit, you will need to tell the Department of Work and Pension DWP as soon as possible. If you get a new job or a pay increase, you might get the wrong amount of benefit if you don't. Normally, because this benefit is means tested, if you get more money or you are not working, if you started claiming it, if you start working, you might get less or no benefit at all. Equally, if you get a pay increase if you're already working, because sometimes if you're working on low income for one reason or another, maybe you're working less hours, you get more money. But if your income goes up for one reason or another, your benefit goes down, or it can stop entirely. So it is in the interest of the Department of Work and Pension for you to report a change of circumstances. It's also in your interest because of the risk of overpayment or benefit, which could lead to a very serious offense, including fine or imprisonment, if fraud is actually associated with your behavior. So as we look at this, stay tuned, continue watching. I appreciate your commitment. Thank you so much. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. And if you watch this video, share with family and friends. And click a notification bell, click like, and leave a comment below. Thank you very much. Stay tuned, continue watching. And your claim and commitment will tell you which work-related requirements you need to do. These are the tasks you will need to complete to get universal credit. You will be put in a work-related activity group. You will have different levels of work you will have to do in each group. So you can use our advice to check if you are in the right universal credit work related activity group. There are advisory bodies within the non-statutory and also the statutory sectors here in the UK, which you can actually access if you do access them, because like I said in the other videos, there are a lot of problems affecting these organizational advisory bodies like Citizen Advice or similar non-statutory organization, and also statutory organization within the local authorities, but also at the Department of Work and Pension itself, because of lack of resources. Lack of resources happening because government are not really funding this organization effectively. This organization being representative of the public sectorial element of the economy. You will also be able to find out what you need to do in each group. Accepting a job offer or pay increase under this circumstance, you should contact the Department of Work and Pension straight away to tell them who your employer is and when the job will start and when your pay will increase. See if you can apply for childcare costs. Your universal credit can include an amount if you pay for formal childcare like a registered childminder or nursery. These are all depending on your money, the money you have. Universal credit can only be gotten from the government if you are on low income broadly, and which is why I say if the government is serious about eradicating poverty in the United Kingdom, they should change the policy on benefit today and pay, I would say from the top of my mind, £30,000 per annum or if you are on benefit, to lift the British people out of poverty once and for all. The minimum wage should go up with the equivalent amount, because if you look at income as infrastructure, you will discover that employment and benefit are the primary source of income for ordinary households in the United Kingdom, and therefore the removing them from poverty will need radical reform in employment law and also benefit law, where the level of minimum living wage in the country should be increased substantially to remove anybody working full-time or part-time out of poverty. If somebody works for part-time, and if they earn for whatever reason less than 30,000, the government should top up that up by benefit. Where will they get the money? Get the money from the rich people, from the super rich, and also some of the money hidden in the economy, which is hoarded by the system, get it out and use that money to pay the British people. There is no excuse of protecting the British economy by keeping the majority of the population poor. There is no logic in it. Do not protect the British economy by, excluding 90% of the people from accessing adequate support to get them out of poverty. To keep the British people in poverty is evil. I don't want to see any government, including the British government, to be practicing evil on its people. And we are human. This is our world. Nobody asks anybody at any time to rule over them. They willingly decided to rule over other people, and it has always been violent, either in military terms or in civil terms. And this has to stop, and we need to now revisit our cultural component, our cultural resources of respect. Respecting the rich people, respecting poor people, respecting able people, respecting disabled people, male, female, children, adults, respecting animals, respecting animals. This is a respect agenda through and through, beginning with lifting the British people out of poverty today, lifting the people of the world out of poverty today. You can book, let's go back to this material, you can book an appointment with your work coach to review your claim and commitment. You can also report changes in your circumstances and contact your work coach by using your Universal Credit online account. If you have one, calling the F-line, Universal Credit F-line, like I said before, visiting gov.uk or some of the other website to find out their details. If you need to, they're open from Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Calls are free from mobiles and landlines. How to pay, how a pay increase affects your universal credit. I've already mentioned this bit. If you get a pay increase, the amount of universal credit you get usually goes down, because I said several times along this process that universal credit is means tested, and this is actually to illustrate what means tested mean. Because if your income goes up, you get less benefit. If your income goes down, you get less, more benefit in theory. But in practice, they are calculated in certain ways. But my reasoning, my main purpose of undertaking this exercise is to remind individuals in the United Kingdom, reminding the government, if they can listen to this. If they don't, if you live in the United Kingdom, use this material. If you don't get enough from this material, then you visit Government UK, do a study, and form a group if you need to, family and friends, and examine the government policy on welfare support broadly, not just money, broadly, including housing, healthcare, and everything. Form a working group as communities and elect representatives to contact your local MPs, for the MPs to contact Parliament, for Parliament to put pressure on the government to get the British people out of poverty using benefit system, using employment. Employment should be just in terms of payment, in terms of quality work, in terms of condition of employment itself. And the same goes for benefit, because these two are the two-pronged approach to providing income to the British people, and the level of income will either keep the British people in poverty in perpetuity or lift them up permanently, depending how the government manages the public sector, the social sector in particular. Because Britain is the sixth richest country, so there is a justifying of the British government spending enough money to lift every single British person, including foreigners, especially foreigners coming to Britain. They should not be used as political football for right-wing politics of the UK or whichever part of the world. Because you see, stalling racial hatred, hiding behind immigration policy, hiding behind welfare policy, this is wrong and this is evil. If you are not evil, then stop doing evil. Stop doing evil to the British people, to foreigners visiting here. You worship the rich, who are citizens, who are foreigners. You despise the poor, who are British, who are foreigners. And stop hiding behind political ideology, political malfunctioning. Stop hiding behind it. Stop practicing evil and see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil. Come clean. Revisit your cultural root. Be respectful to yourself and to other people. Respect their property. The wealth of the nation is for the citizens of those countries. The rich should be rich if they want to be, but the poor people now should be taken out of poverty in the United Kingdom and across the globe. This is a constant message. Going back to this material, thank you so much. Stay tuned. Continue watching. Thank you so much. And how a pay increase affect your universal credit. Like I said, if you get a pay increase, the amount of universal credit you get usually goes down. I have said this over and again. I will be saying it over because this is a very complex material. If you repeat a certain line of information again and again and again, people tend to get it, and there is a fluidity also developing to kind of like, because Rome was not built in a day. To think that you can learn government policy in a day on one video is a miss. I'm doing this exercise so that people should go online if they want to learn. They can also go to university to learn, to do a research on welfare system in Britain. I mean, if you have the resources, if you have the time, you can do that. You can go online and maybe look for courses you can do remotely from home and develop yourself, equip yourself for changes. Change is coming very quickly, mainly because of technology, but also because of political behavior. The change is going to be rather violent. And we have seen wars lingering in the Middle East and also in Asia. But also in Africa, we have seen children shooting children. So the world is not peaceful. It's not going to be peaceful anytime soon. In America, there are a lot of uncertainty. In Europe, in Africa, people are killing one another. We don't just sit here and blame the government for all our troubles. We should take responsibility for our behaviors. I mean, if you're in the UK, if you're in Africa, you're in Europe or America, take responsibility for yourself. What do you do to yourself? What do you do to other people? Do you respect yourself? Do you respect other people? If you respect yourself, you're not going to do anything to hurt yourself. There are a lot of people who are now very quick. They are ready to commit suicide. You don't respect yourself. You don't value your life. And you are responsible for your misbehavior. There are a lot of people who love you. You have no right to commit suicide. And for people who are doing abortion, you can do abortion if you think what you are carrying in your womb is not a human being. The government may say one thing, the law may say, what if you wake up one morning, you have killed your baby, and the government changes the law, abolishing abortion, then you are committing a crime. You must have committed a crime retrospectively. Although there are legal rules of non-retrospectivity, what if there is, because the government can change the law for law set being retrospective. Because the law says something, it doesn't mean your morality, your moral standard should change. If you think morally that the law is wrong, Do not do abortion. You do abortion if you think morally abortion is right. Because killing a child, is it right? That's why children are now killing children, because we allowed things like abortion to take place. We say it is right. And abortion is wrong, in my opinion. In my moral opinion, in law, check what happened in your country in terms of abortion, in terms of using contraceptive, tampering with life. Because if you don't value life, if you disrespect life, you tamper with nature in terms of human life, then you get diseases. I mean, you throw chemicals around. You put chemicals on food because you think of money more than people. And you're creating diseases. People are getting sickness, a type of sickness. We don't know where this sickness comes from. Ebola, we don't know where Ebola came from. HIV, we don't know where it comes from. COVID-19, we don't know where they came from. Every time there is an epidemic, there is a disease coming. Even the malaria, the kind of malaria killing Africans now in Africa, in the tropics, we don't know where they came from. How come we get diseases all the time in society and we don't know where they come from? Have a thought. We need to wise up, respecting, valuing human life, and looking up. That is our cultural roots. That is our cultural estate. That is our cultural enlightenment. We need to learn how to respect our life. That is why the British people are being kept in poverty, because of disrespect by politicians. They are responsible for that. And the British people should now take responsibility to speak to their leaders to get them out of poverty in the UK, across the globe, in Africa, everywhere you are. Speak to your government if you are allowed to speak. And if you are in Africa, be very careful how you talk to your government, because there are some of the most dangerous military dictatorship or even civil dictatorship in Africa. But that is only a symptom of our modern society. There are going to be dictatorship in the world, including in Europe and America, such as never before seen. You see, poverty is a form of dictatorship. We want to call it democratic dictatorship, call it that. Why are the British people living in poverty? That is why there's the cost of living crisis. The solution to the cost of living crisis is to raise the income level up, and no more, no less than that. You can play your politics as much as you like. If you are probably conservative MP or maybe Labour or Liberal Democrat, you can mock the British people by saying money doesn't grow on tree. You can say that, mocking the British people, saying money doesn't grow on tree. So you are not prepared to help the British people to get them out of poverty. And when you see multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires, if you see wars in Ukraine or in the Middle East, then money is certainly growing on tree for things like that. And the British people are keeping quiet. Talk to your MP. Tell your MP that, they need to get out of poverty today. Let us go back and look at this program. How a pay increase affects your universal credit. We're talking about universal credit. Means states that benefit in the United Kingdom. Benefit is money in the United Kingdom. If you get a pay increase, the amount of universal credit you get usually goes down. For every £1 you or your partner earns, 55 pence will be counted as income when your universal credit is calculated. Your earnings are what you get from your employer each month after tax. National insurance and pension contributions are taken off. These are net earnings, how it is defined. If you're self-employed, there are rules about how your earnings are calculated. If you are responsible for a child, or you or your partner has limited capability for work. I've already spoken about limited capability for work several times. Watch this video and the rest of the video to know what it is. It's a form of sickness in terms of benefit assessment. You will get a work allowance. This is how much money you can earn without it affecting your universal credit payment. You can find out more about work allowances on gov.uk. If you get a sickness payment, you get sickness payment in addition to your universal credit standard allowance. If you get help from universal credit towards your mortgage interest payments, you will lose that money if you start work. You can read more about how your earnings from work affect your universal credit. If you would like help to work out whether you would be financially better off taking a job or increase pay, you can contact your nearest Citizen Advice. Citizen Advice is the biggest advice service in the United Kingdom. You can also access their public website and help yourself. There's a philosophy to empower people who need help as citizens of this country, as members of the local community. But resources are far in between with this organization. Government need to increase funding for advisory services such as citizen advice in the United Kingdom immediately. Because if they don't, the British people will continue to suffer because they won't be able to access services. And this is unnecessary suffering because, you see, the British people will need to be experts on debt and other issues of involving income. And already said the credit system need to be reviewed globally. Beginning in Britain, the Britain cannot do many things alone, because it is a member of the European countries. It is a member of the global countries. It's called globalization. Every country is giving up its sovereignty, their sovereignties, to embrace global sovereignty. I discussed the incidents of globalization. And if you have time, read about globalization. Go online and look for information. Is everywhere online. Or if you want to go to public library in your country or in the United Kingdom, read about globalization. It's very important to know. Also read about capitalism. Or you can, if you can find some of the videos posted, watch it if you like things like that. A lot of people are not interested in policies, in law and politics, but they are actually risking their lives. They are risking the lives of their loved ones, because we are coming to an age where you are supposed to take responsibility for your politics, for your policy. You have to be a policy expert. You have to be a political expert, healthcare, a military, police. Then sooner or later you are going to contact the police. They are going to ask for your credit card. I don't know what the military people are going to ask for if you call for military help as a citizen of the UK. I don't know how you're going to look at that. They are going to be robots or other forms of machines manning or managing the national securities across the globe, because human workforces in the civil and the military sectors are going to be made redundant, because machines are going to be developed which are going to be more effective, which I think in terms of development is good. Humans do not have to work anymore because of technology, and that is a good news. What is not good news is failure of culture, when we continue to practice violence, weaponizing wealth, weaponizing even technology. And this is a serious matter. You may not sound like it, but pay attention to it, because your responsibility, you are responsible for your life. You are human. You are responsible for humanity. Even if you are in government, whether you are a king, you are a president of the country, whether you are a ruling officer or a serving officer, because there are servants and rulers in life. I mean, if you're a servant, you should be proud of yourself because you are doing something good for your country. In the military, in the civil economy, you are doing something good for your country. Value your life. That's what you need to do. It doesn't mean everybody should be in the ruling and class. Rulers should be good leaders. And they should learn their culture and learn peace. And that is what they should do. That's what everybody is supposed to do. And poverty is the first step to address in Britain and across the world. If anybody listening to this video should go to their government, wherever, if you're in Africa especially, go to your government and watch out for violent leaders in Africa. If they don't want you to talk, don't talk. You live to fight another day. If you are facing some dangerous dictators in Africa, don't, like they say, don't talk to us. Don't talk to them. Because you don't have a gun. You don't have the money to fight them. So don't fight them. Because you're going to lose the fight, the war. You're going to lose the fight, the battle. You have to be white. You're human. And therefore, let us go back and try to wrap this thing up. Stay tuned, continue watching. I'm so happy you came. And thank you so much. So you're refusing a job offer or a pay increase. If you refuse, there are some people refuse certain things, jobs offer or pay increase. But a working person can't make you take a new job or pay increase, but you'll need to have a good reason for doing this. For example, you might have an emergency at home, or you might be in the hospital. If you don't have a good reason, they will probably sanction you, which means having your universal credit temporarily reduced. But I had to say probably also stopped. I would say benefit sanctions should be stopped immediately. This is a policy of cruelty from the British government. And if you are in another country, you are facing similar policy. If you are allowed to speak to your member of parliament, take that opportunity while the opportunity still lasts, and tell your leader to tell their leaders in the government to stop benefit sanction immediately, because it's a form of brutality, is a form of violence to the British people who need to get out of poverty. Don't waste your money and your time on benefit sanction, because that will create more problems to people who are really, really poor, who are really suffering. Benefit sanction is evidence of evil in Britain. That is the bottom line. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Let us look at your claim and commitment. Which says you don't have to get a job. Your universal credit won't be affected if you refuse to take up a job offer. At least in theory, because I know I used to work for Help to Claim for the Department of Work and Pension as an advisor on Help to Claim, which is part of universal credit. Help to Claim, if you're in the UK, if you are claiming new benefit, I was advising them how to claim it. I'm not going to tell you what organization I was working with, but I know that sometimes people are actually kind of intimidated into taking job offers which they shouldn't. So your universal credit, if you refuse a pay increase, you won't get sanctioned, but the Department of Work and Pension might treat you as having that income. Now, if they treat you as having that income, it means it's up to the Department of Work and Pension to decide if they will include it when they work out how much universal credit you'll get. And this is a form of wickedness by the government, by the UK government, because if you don't take a pay increase, and you won't get sanctioned, but the Department of Work and Pension might treat you as having that income. It's up to the Department of Work, this is discretionary upon the Department of Work and Pension to decide if they will include it when that income when they work out your, which means potentially you might not get universal credit even if you're not you are working and you don't take a pay increase for one reason or another, because some pay increases, I mean, how in the world is an employer going to give a pay increase? Maybe the condition for the pay increase is for you to work longer hours. That is not pay increase. And it is not unusual for employers to behave like that. If they know the government is also giving you pressure because of our benefit policies, They can give you pay increase and give you condition to work maybe hours you will not be interested to work. That is not pay increase, but the Department of Work and Pension may treat it as pay increase because of confusion, because of also lack of resources with the Department of Work and Pension. You have to challenge decisions. You may have to go to court, and you have, because you are already on low income, you can't afford even transport. Maybe even you can't afford, because sometimes you may have to pay a lawyer to represent you. You can't afford that. So what are you going to do? These are policies which should be removed immediately by the government of the UK. So your claim of commitment say you have to get a job. You have agreed with your work coach what type of work you would look for, including your hours and pay. If you don't accept an offer that matches or nearly matches what you agreed, you will probably be sanctioned. This also should be removed immediately because it actually bring confusion in policy. It's already hard enough for somebody to be on benefit. The people of Britain should not be on benefit unless it gets them out of poverty, and they should be, the condition should be more reasonable than what is now happening. Because you see, if you are claiming benefit, you should be on benefit unless you can get. You are not stupid. You see, why should the government put a policy like this? Because they think the British people are stupid. They don't want to work. The British people are better than that. They know they have to work. They have integrity. They have dignity. Nobody wants to be in benefit. The UK government is either ignorant or just brutal or just not wanting to tell the truth, being dishonest, because they are planning to shut down the public sector. And they are trying every means to get people out of benefit. Because the best way to shut down the public sector is not to fund it. And benefit is like a cancer on the people who bent on destroying the public sector. And they are doing everything. The health sector, the housing sector, and the employment and the benefits sector are the worst enemy of people who are haters of the public sector, because I mean, they see it as a chronic disease on their agenda to close down the public sector. So they menace people who are getting public housing, who are going to get help within the health sector. People who are trying to send their children to school, people who are trying to access public service are brutalized in one way or the other. Buses are cold during winter, they are warm, they are extremely hot during summer. People are treated like slaves. And this is the truth. And if members of parliament who are producing this policy want to know the truth, they should be in touch with their constituents, because people are really being treated very badly. The British people are being treated extremely inhumanely. They are being trained not even to say anything. If you say anything, you are being described as an extremist. And extremism now is being confused with terrorism. When you if you stigmatize somebody or being an extremist, they are confused. I mean, people begin treating them as if they are terrorists, and this is a deliberate or inadvertent confusion produced by especially the government, which has proved to be extremely incompetent in really bringing peace to in the country. And this incompetence or adversity is being promoted across the globe, not from Britain necessarily, but there are a coalition of incompetent leaders or rulers across the globe who are in different ways brutalizing their citizens. And this must stop. So, if the job offer isn't appropriate, and God knows what appropriate means for you, if it's not appropriate for you or your circumstances, if you think you have got a good reason, nobody knows what a good reason is for refusing and a job offer, because you can give good reason to the bad working person. If they refuse, they create a problem for you. You don't have anywhere to run. You are desperate. I mean, only desperation takes people to claim benefit. People have their dignity, and you fail to run the country effectively. forcing British people into benefit, which is shameful. It's a shameful thing to be in benefit. And you insult them, you abuse them a second time by, harassing them and treating them like as if they are dogs, as if they are not even humans. So talk about job offer if it is inappropriate. I mean to say you have to give good reason. If it is inappropriate, it is inappropriate. You have right as a citizen. Being poor should not be able to be something which actually take away your human right, because you see, you know what is good for you. No, it is not for the government, which is actually so so despotic, and for a country like Britain, living like some kind of like ancient military dictatorship in some remote part of the world. And we're not talking about Britain, but we are. If you brutalize your people because they are poor, because your political ideology is wicked, is awkward, I mean, who are you trying to blame for your for your kind of like perversity, if I may say so? And if you think you have a good reason, yes, I think I have a good reason for refusing a job offer. You need to talk to your work coach about it straight away. I mean to say, this is what kind of life is that? And there is no definition of what counts as a good reason. But the Department of Work and Pension should be reasonable and take into account your circumstances and views. This is hot air. This policy should be removed forthwith, because it is a problem creating. It's problem enough that people do not have access to work, employment, decent work is lacking because of changes, legitimate changes like technology. There is another elephant in the room involving ideology, involving capitalism, which is hell-bent on closing down the public sector. And the British people should know why they are in trouble, because the government has adopted a political system which is brutal, which is wrong, which is closing down the public sector when society is not ready to live without public sector, when technology has not matured, when culture is not visited to provide righteousness in the country. Because you see, if we don't produce the value we need as humanity, it doesn't matter how rich we are, it doesn't matter how much technology we produce, they are going to be weaponized. And this is a sign of the time. If I talk about poverty, I have peace in my mind. I have caution in my mind that we as a society need to visit our cultural roots, become respectful, learn and learn and learn. If you are a child, if you are an adult, if you are a mother, if you are a father, if you sit there and think the world is going to sort itself out, and you just sit there and don't take decision to take your responsibility and become a fruitful member of society, that you are going to suffer. The rest of the world will suffer with you. Let us look at this material. An example of what might be taken into account when deciding if something is a good reason include if it would take over 90 minutes to get to work. You are usually expected to travel up to 90 minutes to work. So that would be reasonable. If it costs for travel, to work and childcare would be too high to make it worthwhile, and that is something which might be unreasonable if the job would have a negative impact on your physical or mental health, if the job would have a negative impact on your caring responsibility, if you have a religious or ethical objection to the type of work. These are actually legal fingerprinting on this policy in terms of certain protected characteristics, for example, religion and ethical objection, although your reason will be taken into account. The panel work and pension will consider all your personal circumstances in making a decision on whether or not to sanction you for refusing an offer. The sanction and this kind of policy should be deleted today. One good reason in itself, such as ill health, might not be enough to stop you being sanctioned, because the government in its madness believes that sick people are able to work. I mean, if you are a multimillionaire and you are sick, and the prime minister is going to ask a multimillionaire today, you're not going to stay in the house. Go out and work, or else I'm going to sanction your wealth. You bully and abuse poor people in this country, and you don't get enough of fun from doing what is a brutal and cruel policy on poor people. What you cannot do to super rich, you can't ask a rich person what to do with his life or our life. You come and abuse people because they are poor. You are poorly educated. You're not fit to run the country at all. Because you see, you think wealth is the only value. If somebody is rich, they are valued humans. You are wrong because you see, your culture is rotten. You are not fit to govern this government if you are prime minister, if you are a minister who do not value humanity. Go and take a multimillionaire what to do with their time, with their life, whether they should go to work. You order them, then and come and order poor people in this country because you think they are on benefit, because they work for a living as employed people. Their bosses are bullying them enough. They are terrorizing. There are employers who are terrorizing poor people in Britain about even condition of work. They are a nightmare. They are a nightmare to the people of this country at work. It is getting worse and worse. The kind of bullying multimillionaires and multimillionaires don't experience from anywhere. And this inequality is a form of violence, a form of evil. In the United Kingdom, you are invited, whether you are rich or poor, whether you are a ruler or a servant, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Let us look at this. Stay tuned, keep watching. Thank you so much. If the job offer is for fewer hours, lower pay, or different type of job than you agreed in your claim and commitment, you will still be expected to take it, which is wrong. Because the claim of commitment should be honored by the British government. You should not run into some monstrous dictatorship who doesn't actually respect its own policy, because the claim of commitment is a type of contract. If you agreed for a level of pay and you are not expected to take it unless they are wrong, and they are wrong, this policy must be removed today. This won't be considered good reason for refusing a job offer unless you can argue that your travel or childcare costs will be too high to make a lower paid job worthwhile. If you don't accept the job offer, you are likely to be sanctioned. And that is wrong. It should be stopped today if the British government wants to be counted as worthy. Otherwise, it is an unworthy instrument of oppression, of dictatorship, which should be destroyed today also. If the job is more hours than you have agreed, your work coach might still encourage you to take it. If you don't want to explain why, your work coach to your work coach and remind them why you only agreed to limit hours in the first place, example, because of your health or childcare commitment. You cannot tell the rich person how to run their life, and you are telling poor people because you failed to run the country for everyone, and now you're brutalizing them. You have put them in a corner where they cannot get decent jobs. They can't get any help at all from the government, and you blame them. You practice cruelty on your own people. You are an instrument of wickedness, and there is no peace for the wicked. If the Department of Work and Pension decide to sanction you for refusing a job offer in these circumstances, you might be able to challenge the decision of the sanction. You see, challenge the decision is good to say. Why should I be put through having to challenge the decision? It's not even easy for professionals, seasoned professionals, to challenge the decision because the process is so complex. It's like flogging a dead horse with a stick or whatever you have. You flog a dead horse with. So this is a pretense, and this is a wrong policy. It should be criticized at every corner. And if there is such a thing as democracy in the United Kingdom, then good politicians should speak out and correct this injustice once and for all. Let us look at other aspects. Maybe we are going to stop here. and we are going to come back next time and continue talking about this thing. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Leave a comment below. Share the video with family and friends. Click the notification bell so that you don't lose anything at all. We are going to continue with next time. Thank you so much. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye. Good afternoon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okon. We are talking about money in the United Kingdom being given to people who need it in the United Kingdom. And for those who are outside the United Kingdom, the money may not be relevant to someone like yourself. But what happens in the United Kingdom in terms of policy and practice is more likely to happen elsewhere around the world. So if you come across this information, pay attention to it, because it might also be of interest to you. And also you might actually do a study of what happened in the United Kingdom systematically or even in practical terms, to try and talk to your member of parliament or your leader to put pressure on your government to provide similar support for people in your country, especially if you live in Africa, because this help in the United Kingdom is quite similar to help given in countries similar to United Kingdom in the developed world. It is called welfare system, welfare based on welfare policy, which is part of the public sector. I have actually mentioned this information in this video, but also in the other videos. If you watch the rest of the video also. Thank you so much, everyone who have been supporting this channel, watching the videos, sharing with family and friends, and also clicking notification bell, clicking like, and leaving comments. Comments are so important. Feedback is really extremely valuable, and I appreciate this. We are looking at universal credit, which in the UK is the main area of financial support given by the government. And we looked at several elements of it. We are continuing with the process, and we are looking at people who are sick. If you are sick long term, if you are sick for 14 days, the government will count at this as being a long-term illness. Then you won't need to work if you can show you have limited capability for work. The thing about limited capability for work, I've discussed it. Go to gov.uk in the United Kingdom, or if you are outside the United Kingdom, because this is a website, and also go to visit the public website of Citizen Advice in the United Kingdom. You can access this website from anywhere in the world, and for information, for guidance, or even for doing research. And this information is vital because, in my opinion, especially if you are in Africa, I think it is so important that the world should look to Africa to help Africa, because if there is to be welfare support in a modern world where there is wealth, there is technology, the progress has been made along development, and in Africa people are still living in the type of poverty which can only be imagined existing in the ancient of days. But we are in a modern society, so therefore those who are financing Africa economically should think again about how Africa is being treated. Africa should be supported by welfare, and we are global countries, we are global world, and it doesn't make sense a single person being poor in one country, including in the continent of Africa, within the countries in Africa, especially coming back to the developed world in the United Kingdom being the sixth richest country. I have said consistently that the primary objective of this program, but also any government policy, should have its own objective, its key objective, to get the British people and the people of the world in another country out of poverty. And every government providing welfare or any other support, whether finance, whether whatever you call it, should get the people of such a country out of poverty, and Britain is included. I have been consistently saying this, and thank you so much, everyone who have been with me, working with me, and supporting this channel. And then we are going back to look at the specific. From time to time, I will pause to give a commentary on the primacy of information as a law.